Enough about my sob story. Tonight's topic, we wanted to chat about books, some of our favorite books. We had a listener or watcher, whatever, ask us a couple weeks ago about what some of our book recommendations would be. I'd given him a couple right then and there, and we said we would discuss it some more. So, since we finally seem to have this stinking live stream thing figured out, and for anybody on YouTube, we were over on Facebook for a while. We ran into all kinds of issues and have now migrated over here. But it kicked our butt for a month. I think we struggled with it. Couldn't get it to work.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just nice to be moving in some direction now and have a good live stream going. Now that we have
Agreed.
a good one, we can chat together about some of our book recommendations, because I think I was doing that one by myself that night. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with you, Joe.
Yeah.
You wanted to quick run back inside and grab a few props. So would you go ahead and share your first one?
The funny thing is two of the top two books that I have to recommend, I don't even have with me. I've loaned them out. I've given them to somebody else to read.
I was looking for some books too and could not find some of them because same. And also one of mine is an audiobook.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I have one or two of your books here. So
I think you have my Admiral McCraven book.
Possibly. I don't know that I have that one.
I gave that one to somebody. Never got it back.
Anywho, so I know we talked briefly about books on one of the episodes of the podcast, but top of my list for books that have had a positive impact on me in my life, it was No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, I believe it is. And that book pretty much it addresses people-pleasing tendencies in particularly men, but it can be positive to read for both males and females, but addresses people-pleasing tendencies, how to stand up for yourself in a relationship, and how to stop having what he calls covert contracts, which is basically, if I do this or if I behave in X way, this will happen for me because I am doing this. And it's unlearning learned behaviors and like, hey, just ask for shit if you need it, and learning how to do that kind of stuff. It sounds stupid, but it's unbelievably helpful. A great resource, great book to read.
Kind of like learning how to have a backbone almost, it sounds like. Stand up for yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's as dumb as it is, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is, hey, stop letting people walk all over you and learn how to ask for what you need, instead of thinking that by doing certain things for everybody else, they will read your mind and just do what you hope that they're going to do anyways.
Right.
Just stupid. It's obviously dumb. It doesn't work, but some people need that. So it was a very positive resource for me in that aspect.
Okay.
The second book that I have is, let me make sure I have this title right here. All right. The second book is Nonviolent Communication, a Language of Life-Changing Tools for Healthy Relationships. And that is from growing up with four brothers joining the Marine Corps and being on a fire department, working in all those environments, violent communication was my specialty. And when I went through my divorce, I learned very quickly that when my kids were with me, they didn't have a safe person to go to if I scared them because I didn't know how to communicate any other way. So I took it upon myself to learn how to communicate to my kids better. And that's the book that I chose to read. And it's been very, very helpful with how I talk to my kids and actually talk to people at work, talk to just in general relationships. It's allowed me to talk much calmer with people through topics as opposed to getting frustrated about things. So that is another one that I highly recommend. So nonviolent communication, a language of life,
Yeah, and I
life-changing tool
have,
for relationships.
if you bear with me 1 second, I have a
I
copy
think
of it just so I can
was
show it.
gonna say I think
I'll
I
go
got
run and
you a
grab
copy.
it. I do. Hold on, I'll be right back.
And yeah, while he's going to look for it, basically I'll read a little bit of this. It's by Marshall B. Rosenberg. What is violent communication? If violent means acting in ways that that result in hurt or harm, then much of how we communicate, judging others, bullying, having racial bias, blaming, finger pointing, discriminating, speaking without listening, criticizing others or ourselves, name calling, reacting when angry, using political rhetoric, being defensive or judging who's good or bad, what's right or wrong with people, could indeed be called violent communication. So essentially, it's learning how to communicate without using those.
I think I can get that in there. Everybody see that?
And that is the book.
And yeah, you
So
sent that
that
to me
was
a couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago. It's next up on my list. I was in the middle of a book and I had another book that I've borrowed from somebody that I've been trying to get through on top of school and everything else. So yeah, that's next up on my list. But um, no, I'm kind of interested to read that one with how much you have mentioned it in the past and talked about how much it's helped you. I am excited to read that one. I thought about pushing it up, but I got to get this other book returned. So
it's it's amazing to me how much it's shown me and allowed me to step back and realize how other people communicate to others and realize what points people are missing and why people are getting frustrated and how they could try to communicate better. It was a very good book for me to read. The next book I have is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And that book pretty much goes over why do you care about anything? Everybody's gonna die. You could die tomorrow. So really why give a fuck? Why care about what other people think? Why care about why let anybody else's thoughts of you determine how you live your life? Just live your life to the best of what makes you happy. And once again, it might sound stupid to some people, but it's a damn good book.
that's another one
Yeah.
I want to read.
He's got a couple books there. I've listened to his podcasts. I think he's got a podcast. He's got a YouTube show for sure. I've listened to episodes of that, and it's all good information. It's could come across as harsh in the way that he presents a lot of it, but it's very well. It makes he does a very good job of articulating his point.
Okay. I've seen a few of his like little short videos or whatever, clips of him here and there, and yeah, I like listening to him. I'm excited to read his book, but
Mm-hmm.
haven't paid. Yeah, everybody's got a podcast or YouTube channel nowadays,
Yeah,
including us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
it's so hard to keep up with everybody.
Oh, I can't keep up with all of the information out there nowadays. There's so much in every form imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because I'm getting a little more involved doing all of this stuff now that I'm seeing more of it, but holy crap. TikTok,
There's a ton of
Instagram,
information.
YouTube, Facebook. Good Lord, man. There's a lot of stuff.
The next book I have is Built Through Courage by Dave Hollis. So that book I picked up on through a recommendation of somebody on Facebook, and basically the this the quote that's in the book that summarizes it pretty much is ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are made for. So you're built.
Camera's out.
Yep.
Uh-oh. There he is.
I'm back. Still working through this. So ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for, or that's not what ships are made for. Which is essentially you're designed to do great things in life. You're designed to do things that scare you, but so many people just take shelter in the safety of their own home or the safety of the comfort of what they know because it's safe and it's not scary to them. But
we forget that life is meant to be experienced, not witnessed.
and there's so much out there in life to experience, and there's so much to the good and the bad, and there's so much good that comes with the bad and bad that comes with the good, that it's just a beautiful, delicate balance, but you don't know any of it if you just stay safe in your own home.
It's
And what do
funny
you
you
ever
say that.
experience in life?
Funny you brought that up today. I'm pretty sure I posted on my Instagram story today. Just all of the mistakes I've made, there's not one of them I would trade for anything, just because it's brought me to exactly this point in my life. Every bump, dumb ass mistake I have made has brought me to exactly this point in my life. I wouldn't trade a one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I've experienced things. I've had a ton of fun. Have I screwed up? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I've had a lot of fun along the way, and I probably otherwise would not have had some of that fun had I not done some dumb ass shit.
Well, and with that being said, in the periods of your life where you weren't going out and experiencing anything new, you weren't pushing your boundaries, you weren't doing anything different, you were just staying in one safe, stagnant location doing the same thing. I don't know if you've had many periods of that, but how did you feel during those periods of time? Because for me, I get it's depression.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have something to work towards, some sort of some
I've always had
if
something. Looking back, I have always had something. It was my business, it was fishing tournaments, then it was cards, then it was hunting the property. Now it's weightlifting has always been mixed in there. Now then we had the podcast. I've had cards again in the mix. Now I've got all of this going on. Like I've always had a side business, some other thing going on, much like you have.
And I have, but I haven't always. Like I've always been busy, but just because you're busy doesn't mean you're making progress towards something. So you can just be filling your time with something that is just is kind of just taking up your time.
Yep.
And I had a lot of that, even though I wasn't aware of it or didn't want to accept it, or there was nothing that I could change about it because I had a contract and I was stuck doing one thing and another. So one thing or another led to I was just doing what I had to do and getting by, and it was all filling time. There was no growth in certain years of my life, and those years of my life were the most, looking back, I've never been so depressed in my life other than the times that I was stagnant, not doing anything, not growing, not going out, not exploring, not doing new things, not experiencing new things, not meeting new people, just staying in my own house, doing nothing but hiding is what I felt like I was doing for a long time. And that book was good to read, and it helps you, puts it into perspective, the positives and negatives of like what you can experience, but why you need to experience it.
Sorry, I'm posting to Facebook real quick our link because I want to make sure people can find us.
Yep. So a couple other books I've had recommended to me was The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I have read excerpts of that, but I have not read the book through. I have that in my studio here right now. I also... David Goggins Can't Hurt Me. That's a phenomenal book. I think when I started reading that book, I read it all the way through within a day and a half or 2 days because
I listened to that audiobook. It is excellent.
I could not put that book down. It gives you, it really puts it into perspective, like what people truly are capable of if they put their minds to it. And it's, that dude's that dude's insane. But that's a phenomenal book.
I would recommend getting the audiobook as well, just because he adds in a whole bunch of information. The guy that wrote it with him reads it, but then Goggins is there along the way, giving little extra bits of information and stuff. And oh my, some of the stuff he shares is just incredible. Like I highly recommend the audiobook. All kinds of extra information, stories and whatnot, and just things he dealt with. And yeah, the blisters, man, the blisters.
But yeah, that's another one. So yeah, David Goggins Can't Hurt Me.
Great book. Great book. And he's got another one too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see what that other one's called. I know.
Yeah, that's in my Amazon. Save for later. Never back down.
Never finished.
Yeah.
Yep, never finished.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to or hear that one yet, listen to or read that one yet, but I'm hoping to.
The one more book that I have would be The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. That, as far as if you're prone to thinking you have life figured out and then you get burned every so often and you don't know what the hell hit you or what you did wrong, I highly recommend 48 Laws of Power because it goes over every possible scenario that you could think of past experiences in history with all sorts of like the Romans and other empires and how they were built and how they fell due to following and breaking these 48 laws. And it's insane if you read it and you look back like, oh yeah, yep, law 1, never outshine the master. Yep, I've done that before, made that mistake plenty of times, and it's burned me every time. So now it's like, okay, now I know not to do that, not what to how how to be careful a little bit more with that kind of stuff. So yeah, Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power, that's another phenomenal book. But
That's
those
another one I want to get around to reading. Also,
it's
you have
it,
referenced that one also a lot, so I need to check that one out too.
it's such a it's a large book. Hold on, I have that over here.
Yeah, it's a thick one, isn't it?
It's a huge book. So it's not one you're going to want to sit down and just pick. You're going to read the entire thing page or front to back, but it's a pretty hefty book. There's 450
Yeah.
pages, 400 pages in here. But it's a good one to pick it up and skim through and like, oh, I kind of want to read this one and learn about one law and then learn about a second law and then just kind of whatever piques your curiosity and eventually read through all of them. So I pick it up every once in a while. I'll read through a law or two or reread another one and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that's where I went wrong. So that pretty much sums up my my top favorite books that I've read in the past couple years for sure.
I like it. I like it. You've got a couple on there that I've got on my list that I need to get to. So I like your list for sure. I have a couple of them myself, and yeah, got a couple more I need to check off. So I have a few as well. One of them that truly, truly, truly changed my life, and I can't. I don't know how many times I've recommended this book. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. That book seriously made me rethink everything about how I looked at and lived my life. Get it in the camera there, but it's old. I mean, it was written in the early 1900s, so a lot of the references aren't relevant necessarily to today, but the overall message that that book puts across is incredible. And you can, don't let the title be too misleading. It pulled me out of a pretty big depression. And one that I didn't even recognize I was in. I did not realize I was depressed until I started reading through that and went, oh, holy crap. And that book really made me look at how I lived my life and how I viewed everything moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend that one. Another good one, right in the Dale Carnegie author line, was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Another classic book by Carnegie, kind of along the lines of your 48 Laws of Power. Just classic. Will teach you everything you need to know about dealing with people and learning, adapting.
I have that book on my shelf over here too.
A book don't have it because it was an audiobook, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Mm-hmm.
So much of things we have talked about how to live your life is covered in that book. And just owning who you are, owning your mistakes and learning from them, admitting, and like we've said before, when you fuck up, just admit fault. Oh, yep, I screwed that up. I'm sorry. What can I do? How can I fix it? And people are like, what the hell? It's that simple. Just live your life and take extreme ownership for everything you do. Try to find something you can improve in every single mistake that is made, and look at how much better your life will be. And then it relates it to everyday life, and they give military stories, and that one's interesting, especially if you listen to it kind of in conjunction with anything Goggins, because Willink led Goggins at one point. And I've pretty sure I've seen two of them portrayed together in a movie, and you're not really, like, if you don't pay attention to events in books, you wouldn't have been able to put it together. But yeah, Willink, pretty sure, was in charge of Goggins at some point. So their stories overlap in multiple places, but just a very, very interesting book, and very, very relatable in how we want to live our life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned your 48 Laws of Power and how it's not something you kind of just sit down and read. I would recommend Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans as another book similar to that. You can see how many different bookmarks I have in there. Something I have referenced countless times. There's a ton of information from all of his different interviews. I think he covers like the first 700 or 800 interviews that he did in that book, and he just takes the best information from all of them and put it into that book. And then it's all indexed in the back. So whatever you need to look up, you just find it in the index, flip through those pages, and there's more than likely something that will work for you. For instance, my wife has struggled with back pain forever. There's this called acro yoga in there. And
Okay.
they're one of the moves you can do. You flip them up, and it's supposed to help realign your hips. And I was like, let's try it. Let's just see if it works. She said, okay. Terrified the first time because she's flipped upside down, hanging on my feet, and worried I'm going to drop her. But all went smooth, and yeah, her hips went back in, and she has me do it once every couple of weeks now to put her hips kind of back in place, and she can tell when they move out of position, and so she has me put them back in. All because of that book. I never would have known about it otherwise. So I highly, highly recommend Tools of Titans from Tim Ferriss.
Didn't expect to get that kind of information from a book like that, did you?
No, not at all. But how many interviews has he done? I mean, everything from politicians to fucking fitness weight people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of information in that book. So much information in that book. So I think that's my list. I can't think of any other ones.
There any books that you are currently reading or are excited to read?
I've got that anger or nonviolent communication one from you. I am excited to read that one. I'm never used to read fiction when I was younger, but I remember reading like Goosebumps and stuff like that. And then never did much reading until recently, and it's been more nonfiction type stuff. Nonfiction and then autobiography kind of things. I did some World War II stuff. I did some Vietnam War stuff like that. Greatest Beer Run of All Time. I do recommend that book for anybody that needs some entertainment. That was a great book. But haven't been much into fiction lately. And then a buddy of mine, Alier, he loves fiction. Well, he loves Stephen King. I never really read him. Dad used to read all of Stephen King's books. Every single one of Stephen King's books that came out, Dad, I think, went out right away and he would read it. I never picked it up, never read any of them. I know he's an incredible writer, though. But, he bought a couple of books. Alier bought a couple of books a while back and ended up giving me Cell, one of Stephen King's books called Cell. And I'm reading that right now, and it's actually really, really good. So I've been antsy to get to reading that one. And it's one of the first books that I've actually been kind of excited to get back to reading for a while. And I can get, I find myself getting lost in rather than counting the pages or counting the time and watching the clock.
Yep.
So I believe I'm going to have to turn myself back towards fiction a little bit because it is enjoyable to just kind of get lost for a change.
Yeah, get lost in a fantasy land.
Yeah, yep. Even though it is zombie type stuff, it is still pretty interesting. And Stephen King is an incredible storyteller. So, yeah, I've been enjoying reading that book.
There's some books that I was given or loaned from Jim, one of the old co-owners of the company that I work for that I've gone on motorcycle trips with, and he highly recommended them to me because they're Stephen Hunter books, and it's basically stories about a fictional sniper and how people come back and attack him or come back from his past and haunt him, or experiences of his time in the service, and it's just a thriller.
Who'd you say, Nicholas Hunter?
Stephen Hunter. Stephen.
Okay. Now that you bring that up, I do have some more. So, anyways, carry on.
I've got 2 or 3 of his books here that I have yet to read. But I've read one of them, and it was the same way. It was nice to get lost in something that didn't have me thinking. It didn't take a lot. It didn't take a mental toll on me. It was just enjoyable to read, and it would get your blood pumping, get your adrenaline rushing a little bit, and get you feeling something and into something a little bit different. So it was good to cleanse a little bit.
Yep.
With something different.
I'll have to check him out. That sounds interesting. I always liked the sniper video games growing up and everything. Snipers are cool, so I'll have to check that out.
And it kind of it blindsides you how the story goes, and it's jumping back and forth between like past and present events, and everything all kind of ties in. It was the one that I read. I'll have to look up what the title was, but it was a well-written book.
Yeah, let me know.
Very well-written book.
Somebody I just stumbled across last week, I think it was, or a couple weeks ago, Jack Carr. I hadn't heard of him until a couple of weeks ago, probably because I didn't do much reading, but he wrote like the Terminalist books. You know anything about that?
I've heard of them. Give me a second.
It's all military based.
Yep.
He just came out with one, and that's why he was doing a book tour. It came out with, I think it's called Red Morning, like his 7th book in the Terminalist or something like that.
Red Sky Morning.
Red Sky Morning, yes, that's the book that just came out. sounds super interesting, though. He used to be a Navy SEAL, I believe, and then he writes all these books based on his experience and information, but then he expands on it too and adds some fantasy to it. But it's all like true to the military weaponry and all of that kind of stuff. So I wanna check his books out.
Okay.
Sounds similar to that Stephen Hunter, maybe.
Yeah.
Another book that I want to check out, Atlas Shrugged. It is about like future society and if things are done certain ways. I don't know much about it. Atlas Shrugged.
Okay.
Dystopian United States in which publicly traded companies suffer under increasingly burdensome laws and regulations. I stumbled into that one, heard a couple people talking about it, and started reading a little bit about it, and I want to check that one out. I think it was written a while ago, too.
Similar like the whole
57.
1984 George Orwell sort of
yes.
book.
Published in 1957. So, yeah, it's an old book talking about some interesting things. So I want to check that one out, too.
Hell yeah.
You got any other ones?
I do not. I have a whole stack of books over here, but it's tons of different stuff. So when I get to them, I'll get to them. But
I know that's
I don't have any.
A lot of my stuff is too.
So when I get to them, I'll get to them. And until then, I don't have any positive or negative feelings towards any of them other than the ones we've already mentioned. So
I will say I have found audiobooks to be helpful for me. I can listen to a book a lot easier than I can read. I listen to books while I'm mowing the lawn, and it takes me 3 hours to mow the lawn. So it's kind of nice to be able to get some of that done, get some reading done while I'm doing everyday chores. I can go meal prep, go get dinner together, do whatever, and I can pop a book in. So audiobooks have been a game changer for me lately.
it's a very, very good way to expand what you are capable of reading or listening to, because how often do you have time to sit down and physically read a book?
Yep.
But we spend more time with earbuds in than anything else probably. So
exactly.
And audiobooks are nice because you can listen to it, you can find out if it's something you're even interested in actually reading, and then you can buy the book, read it to physically get the information. Because I like taking in information. Like I like physically having a copy in front of me and reading words on paper. I like that. I'd learn well from that information.
I like to be able to highlight things and go back and look at it again. And I absolutely love the physical copies of books too. I do struggle with that aspect of it. I don't want to buy the book twice, but if it's good enough, I will.
I will listen to an audiobook or I will read a physical copy, but I will never buy something and read it on a tablet. I cannot stand reading on a screen. I absolutely hate it. It is my least favorite thing. So if they ever decide to ban physical books, paper books, that'll probably be the last time I read.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't much like that.
I hate it.
I don't much like
it's like manuals and things like that at work. I don't like downloading digital copies of manuals. I want a physical paper copy in front of me. It's easier for me to take the information in.
Yeah, I get that. Totally get that. What
But
else we
yeah,
got, Joe?
that's
Anything?
no, that's about all I have for book recommendations. So
Me too. So we wrap her up there. Call her a night.
I believe so.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody checking out. We will get a list of the books that we did recommend and get those in the description for anybody interested. Be sure to scroll down and check that out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button too. Let us know what books you would recommend as well. We'd love to hear from you. Joe,
Yeah.
got anything else?
Love to keep adding to the list. If you have any thoughts on any of the books that we've talked about, we'd love to talk to you about what you've learned as well. So share
Absolutely.
your thoughts in the comments.
Don't want to run out of books to read, so keep them coming, please. All right. With that, we're going to close her up. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great night.